When I was in my 20s and 30s, I had this insane mental bucket list of things that I needed to do before I turned 40. Some of those were dumb and so not necessary. But as I refined the list, I found out what I actually needed to accomplish, and hence, none of them have to do with what society tells us we have to do and be before we turn the big 40. But they are things that will help you to enter your 40s as your most confident self. Welcome back, my friends, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Christy, and I make content centered around realizing no matter where we are in life, no matter our age, we are just on time to live the life of our dreams. I am someone who has always had big dreams, and I remember when I was younger, I had dreams of meeting these different milestones before I would reach a certain age. Some of those things happened and some of those things didn't, but as I continued to not give up on myself and not give up on the dreams and the things that God had placed in my heart, and as I continued to work toward the life that I wanted, I realized, one, what I needed and wanted would happen at just the right time, and when it was right for me, I would be ready for it. Two, there were things that I thought I wanted in my 20s that I am so glad didn't happen. Like, thank you, Lord, for the prayers that you said no to. And three, I found things that I am genuinely most proud of learning and accomplishing before turning 40 because they have helped me to become my most confident self who is living the version of myself that I always wanted to be. So, what are the things that you have to do before turning 40? And if you're 40 and beyond, it is not too late, but I do need you to hop on these things immediately. One, stop living by other people's timelines. Society and family and people around us want to tell us that we have to have accomplished certain things by a particular age. Is it easier to get some of those things done earlier? Sure, sometimes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the only way, and it also doesn't necessarily mean that that is your path. For me, I told you before that I was dead set on getting married and having some babies in my 20s. As it turns out, that's not actually what I wanted, and it wasn't the right timeline for me. I know this because I'm in my 40s now, and I have no thoughts or feelings or desires of, man, I wish I had gotten married and had some babies in my 20s. At the time, it was what I wanted because it was what I saw, and it was the thing that I just thought that you were supposed to do. But there were things that God had to teach me about Him and about myself, and quite frankly, I was not ready to be somebody's wife or mama. I just wasn't. And I remember there were times when I was like, Lord, when is it my time? When is this thing gonna happen for me? Why is it not happening? What's wrong with me? Nothing. I just wasn't ready. It just wasn't my journey. It wasn't my time. On the flip side of that, my sister had very different thoughts about it, but she was the one who ended up getting married and having babies in her 20s, and it was just so funny. And we are now so happy with our lives, like neither of us would be able to see our lives going any differently. But we have to be okay with not letting society and not letting these imposed timelines dictate to us what it is that we can do. I see people going back to school at every age, changing careers, starting families, doing things that most people, because they're so limited in their thinking, say, oh, you should have done that a long time ago. My favorite saying that I have, that I say to myself all the time is, what God has for me is for me. And as I am aligned with Him and His will, He is not gonna let that miss me. Two, stop waiting on other people. Other people are necessary to enjoyment and fulfillment in life, but many times we can let the absence of them stop us from doing things and going after experiences that don't really require other people. And then we get in this space where we're waiting to live our lives. For example, I have heard people talking about how they'll want to go to a restaurant or they'll want to go see a movie, but they don't have anybody to go with them, so they don't do it. Babe, go by yourself. Or people who want to travel or buy a home or pursue a certain hobby, but in their minds, they don't even see that they can do it by themselves. I have always been one who would do things by myself, like I would take myself on little dates or eat in the restroom alone. Eat in a restroom? I don't want to eat in a restroom. Eat in a restaurant alone just because. Oh my goodness. No eating in restrooms. No, I would eat in a restaurant alone just because, but those were all like smaller things. The first big thing that I did was take a trip by myself when I think I was 37 years old, and I had a conference in Brighton, England. And so I decided to go up a few days early. It was like 4 days early where I just spent time in London for those few days by myself. And I won't lie, it was a little bit nerve-wracking at first. It was a little bit scary because I am traveling to a whole other country by myself. Women don't travel by themselves. But once I got on that plane, all of the fear was gone, and it was one of the most empowering things that I have ever done. It was such a confidence booster. This leads me to my next point, which is to get comfortable with your own company. You are a rock star, but you will never really know it if you are constantly drowning out the feeling of being alone by surrounding yourself with distractions. Now, this is not the same thing as being lonely. Being lonely is not the vibe. That comes with sadness and other stuff. We're not talking about that. We're talking about being able to enjoy quality time with yourself and not being afraid of your thoughts. Sometimes we fill up our space with busyness and with distractions because we're not comfortable with ourselves. We're not comfortable with our thoughts, and we don't have peace in our own company. But you never get to a place of feeling good about yourself if you don't get away from all the distractions and shut out the noise. And distractions can be people, relationships, situationships, social media, drinking too much, eating too much, always having some stimulation that doesn't allow time to quiet your mind. I have worked to build that time into my everyday by spending time with God first thing in the morning, praying, reading my Bible, doing my devotion, going on long walks where I'm not listening to anything, sometimes journaling, not often journaling, but every now and then. And it's really helped me to feel confident and comfortable in me, to be okay knowing what I actually want and what I actually need, and to have peace every day and to be able to easily get back to a place of peace no matter what's going on. The next thing is that life is both too short and too long to deal with foolishness. Now, this is something that I have stolen from my husband because I love it. It's so right. No matter how old you are and for however long you get a chance to be on this earth, you have to be so serious about getting rid of the negativity. Sometimes it's negative people. There are people who can pull you down and who will work to pull you down and plant seeds of doubt about what's possible in your life because of their own experiences and what they've seen possible. Some of those people you just gotta love from a distance. Maybe it's situations that don't serve you. It could be a job or a certain behavior or whatever. I will just let you take that how it hits you. You also have to be aware of what you're feeding your mind and what you're feeding your spirit. The news you watch, the social media you consume, the music you listen to. And the thing is, negativity isn't always external. A lot of times you have a whole lot of internal negative stuff that you have to deal with and get rid of. Unforgiveness, bitterness, anger, fear, negative thoughts about yourself and about other people, mindsets that pull you down, limiting beliefs, all sorts of things. And sometimes it can be a task to completely get rid of because we live in a world that is full of so much negativity. And while we can't control all of the negativity around us, we can control what we invite into our lives. The effects of negativity are so far reaching. Being in those spaces of negativity, it wastes time and it distracts you from your true purpose and calling. It makes you feel bad emotionally and physically, and there really is no good outcome that can come from allowing negativity into your close personal space. In the timeless words of whoever that lady was, ain't nobody got time for that. Life goes in seasons. I've talked about this a lot on my channel, but my 20s was a season where life was just rough. And yes, there were some happy moments, but the vast majority of it, rough. And so many times I thought, is this ever going to end? Will I ever be truly happy again? God brought me through that, and being on the other side has taught me to always have hope because the rough seasons, they don't last forever. If you're in a good season, make sure to really appreciate that. I have found myself at times being like, why is this not blah, 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 and have really had to check myself because as I think about it, I don't actually have anything to complain about. Yes, sometimes I'm really busy and there are goals that I'm still working toward, or not every day is an easy day. But then I remember where I was, and I am so thankful to not be in that space anymore. I am so thankful for where I am. Maybe you're going through a difficult season. What can you find to be grateful for during that? When I was going through the season of losing my parents, I was then and am still so grateful for being able to help care for them, to love them, to show them how much I honored them, and to actually be there for them the way that they were always there for me. When I was very broke, I was thankful that I always had food, I always had a roof over my head, I always had a steady job, I was able to take care of the things that needed to be taken care of. Even when there wasn't much more to be able to do, I had all of the basic necessities met. When I felt so alone, God provided me this support group of friends who, even though they weren't necessarily going through the same thing, it was just helpful to feel like I wasn't alone. And I was so thankful for people who spoke life into me and who were so encouraging and letting me know that there was an other side to what I was going through. And so no matter what the season is, find something to be grateful for, because life is full of peaks and valleys. Life is full of different seasons. And so we have to find a way to be content throughout it all. There's a scripture in the Bible where Paul in the New Testament says, I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through Christ who gives me strength. And it comes from Philippians chapter 4, verses 11 through 13. Recognizing that I can be content, that I can have peace, and that I can be grateful no matter what the season is, has given me so much peace. And I'm so thankful that I entered my 40s with it as a lesson learned. These are the things that I have found that you must do before turning 40. But maybe you're beyond 40 and there are some things that you are still working on. There is no time like the present to start prioritizing these things and making them part of your life. These are the ones that have been so beneficial to me. I would love to know if there are any additional ones that you have. Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're not subscribed, like, what are you doing? I'm gonna need you to jump on that. All right, my friends, I love you and I will see you in my next. Bye for now.